What's up, y'all? We are back with another Revent Builds Behind the Build. You are gonna see in this video over at our newest spec home, yet to be named. We are out there still digging, making progress. I go in and give you guys some tips and tricks about slabs on grades, some terms. We talk about plumbing. Now, over at the pharmacy, the cranes come out. There's some exciting stuff going down. And then over at the $1 million pool, we are gearing up for our last major concrete pour. There's still a little bit of concrete left, but my God, a year and a half of excavation and foundations, and our last big pour is extremely exciting. Now, over at the Zen Den, you're gonna follow along as I work through multiple little issues and problem solve and give you guys some advice on how to work through those things in your career. Let's jump right in. All right, we're out here at our newest spec home. Still haven't had a name, still working on it. Guys, help us out here. If you can think of a name, we're gonna put some of the renderings right here. This is an awesome house. Lots of stone, very organic. It's kind of grounded at the bottom with heavy stone, and then it is light up top with windows. Kind of the motif for this was like a lighthouse, so maybe this is just lighthouse. I don't know, Casa Luna. Anyways, we are out here. As you know, in our earlier videos, we had to do a 3-foot cut. This is really bad, expansive soil. So we excavated 3 feet of the natural topsoil, and then we brought in what you see behind us, this select fill. So as you see, a lot of these like rocks, the aggregate is really uniform. This allows it to be compacted very well. We had to compact all of this 3 feet, get it inspected every 8 inches, so it was cumbersome. Then look, we brought in all this fill, and just from digging out the grade beams, look at how much spoils we had. It is just crazy how much excavation that we're getting used to day in and day out. But we've dug the grade beams, plumbers have been out here. We are now past our plumbing inspection, and now we are actually getting ready. We're digging out the rest of the grade beams, tidying up. We're gonna get in all of our rebar, and we're trying to pour concrete in about a week, week and a half. Come check it out. You see, luxury homes don't build themselves. They are created by people who need to stay sharp start to finish. Between job sites, blueprints, and deadlines, focus is everything. That's why I keep ends in my pocket at all times. No nicotine, no artificial junk, just ingredients that will keep you locked in. Now, the Energy Blend, packed with 50 milligrams of caffeine per pouch. And when I'm tired of the caffeine, I like to switch to the Focus Blend. This is loaded with nootropics that keep your mind sharp without the buzz. Whether I'm managing the crew on site or I'm cranking out office work, you know I got my ends on me. All right, guys, you know the deal. Head on over to nzepouches.com, put in promo code JGB at checkout, get your 15% off. Skip the crash, build with focus. As you guys can see, we have 2 machines on site. We have the Bobcat and the Mini X. The Bobcat that's gonna be used to just move earth around. Like once the Mini X digs out these beams, it has a smaller bucket on it. See that bucket? That's the perfect size for our beam. So the Mini X will dig it out. It's putting it all in a pile. Then the Bobcat with its big bucket is gonna pick that up and get it over there so that we can haul it off the site. Now, look down in here. We've talked about this many times. This type of foundation, this is called a slab on grade, is the exact same principles that we use on grade as well as building 35 feet out in the air like the $1 million pool. We have our wooden forms here. This is gonna make up like the pan, like when we do that pan deck over at Boat Dock Alpha. This is the same thing. It's called a form because it forms up the edge. So when you look in an aerial view, you're gonna see the whole layout. We have our guest house back over there. It's actually partially attached through the garage. So guests can come in the garage and have their own private entry. And that's gonna wrap around. This is kind of the main house area here. And they're gone. And this is a U shape. The master is over there. Here's our backyard, and then you see where it's excavated for the pool. The top layer of concrete is normally anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. That is the slab. But these deeper areas are called the grade beam. So
They dig these out. It's about 30 inches on this plan. It can be different depending on your soil and your fill. Where we dig it out per our engineer specs, and then they're gonna put the rebar in. And when we do the rebar, we're gonna show you all this. These big areas, they're there for big load bearing points coming down from the roof to the second story down to the first, call those point loads, but they're also there to keep the whole slab together. So now, just like how our foundation is laid out inch by inch, so is all of our plumbing. Every single one of these drain lines or sanitary lines, call them, tells a story. This is our utility room. It also has a sink in it. Then you come here, and I can tell that this is an island. If we have a double loop, you can't get a vent out the top. This is like called a loop vent. Okay, now come along with, we have our toilet right there. So we have to take all of these pipes and drain them out to our sewer tap at the street. But how do we do all that when we have to make all these grade beams? And that's what's tough. Now that we've passed plumbing, they're tidying up all of our beam cavities. We don't want a bunch of rocks in the bottom. We don't want spoils everywhere. And if you look, I mean, there is literally, these beams are dug up all over this. And this is exactly how it needs to be through the structural engineering. They're gonna wrap it all in polyplastic so moisture doesn't come up from the ground, and then we'll get our rebar in, and then we'll pour our foundation. All of these pipes, if you look, they're at different levels. What we have to do is these pipes need to be sloped 1/4 of an inch for every foot. So that means every foot you go down 1/4 of an inch. So over 4 feet, you should have an inch drop. So if you look, it's gonna start high there, and it's gonna get lower here. And all of that has to maintain fall for gravity all the way out to our sewer tap. Next up, it is a mad race for this foundation. It has been, for the size of this house and the size of the foundation, it has been a beast. Like, for a house of this size, you don't have to normally do all this stuff because we have that bad soil. So I'm just itching to get started. We have lumber being ordered. We have structural steel in queue. We have framing in queue. After we pour foundation, we're gonna hit the ground running. We are out here at the Zend, and the first thing I want to say is I'm very, very happy with the progress we're making. Behind me, the welders are back out here to move some pads that were different on the structural plans as they were in the architectural set. Then we're going to talk with Pedro and the guys. We have some exterior and interior windows that we're going to need to adjust to make them at the perfect heights that they need to be. We're also going to cut in an exterior opening at our front porch. And then last but not least, my least favorite thing that I'm not super pumped about, but we're knocking it out, our shower pans in our guest bedroom and our cabana. They were not called out to be recessed pans on the structural engineering. So our foundation crew never blocked those out and formed them out. So we have Victor out here, tried and true. You guys know and love him for the $1 Million Fool. He's cutting all those in, dropping them down 4 inches. So that'll be a curbless pan instead of curved. And I just want to show you guys that it's okay to make mistakes, how you overcome them, and there's a solution to every problem. How this is going to work is we have these tabs, and you see they're already pre-drilled for bolts. So these bolts are going to go through there, and when you look up, this is our big steel ridge beam. We have Douglas fir rafters. They're really nice, like decorative rafters. They're going to go and connect to those tabs. So when we put a rafter on either side of this, it'll have that exact spacing. So there's 2 things that didn't quite line up. We have some smaller tabs on the outside of the top of our beams that aren't that same thickness and they're not that same height. So the standoff and spacing of the rafters is not gonna match, right? That's what was called out in the structural. Alan did that correctly. It's not his fault. Now, when you look at these tabs, these have been put in conjunction with how the structural engineer thought the spacing should go for the roof. But then when we lay all this out, we're seeing that the spacing's not correct. So there was some tabs here on the end. And basically, we have to take off these tabs, reposition them into the exact aesthetic pattern that we're trying to get with the architects. So he has to take those off. I mean, that's annoying. These were just tack welded up, but you saw how hard it was for him to knock all that stuff out, right? So he's got to grind that out, knock these off. Then we're gonna get in our new tabs, And then since all of this is exposed, then we can paint all the steel and then we can get the rafters on. I told you that the framing of this guest house ceiling is gonna be dynamite. We have exposed rafters, exposed steel, exposed tongue and groove. So the margin for error is next to none. All of these welds need to look perfect. All the bolts, everything needs to be symmetrical. And this is just tough, right? So when you're building all these houses at a super high level of detail, you can't just go in there and run and gun. We have to go out, quality control. Oh, you did this per the structural plan, but in the architectural, this is slightly different, right? And it's nice when you can get both of those things enmeshed, but it's really tough to make that happen. Let me show you some other spots that we're doing the same kind of thing. Now we're out here at the main house with Pedro and the boys. Come on in. So first things first, we're getting in, like I said, our side lights and our transom windows over here. So what we've done is he got in the sizes of these windows. There's 2 windows of the interior over there, and then there's 1 window above the door. But now on the architecturals, they have a certain sill height on each of these, right? And they want to match, but the problem is 1 window is flush to the ceiling, whereas this one isn't. And basically, they never showed them in a direct plane. So now that we've looked at this, I was like, let's set both of the windows exactly at the same lower plane, like the sill height. So what ended up having to happen is we took off one of our double plates. You see those nails hanging down? And then we just moved it at the bottom. So now these are perfectly level. Why I wanted to show you guys this is with, you're building a 6,000 square foot house. We are building multiple of these at one time. You can't just go in and knock this stuff out. You have to check and check and check and coordinate and cross coordinate. And then sometimes you're doing something exactly how it was on the plan, but it just doesn't quite look right. So you have to make these on-site adjustments, and it's definitely a battle of fine tuning. If you want to get into higher end projects, this is the kind of stuff that you're gonna have to problem solve with day in and day out. More complications, thinking forward. When I came in here the other day, the plumbers, they did a great job, right? They take these water lines. So you see those, that's black insulated water line. They strapped them down nearly level with the bottom of the truss. Plumbers are looking at this from a plumber's viewpoint. They did everything right, but what do I know? This whole ceiling is wood. That is not a normal thing. So it was my job to let the plumbers know that before. So when I came and I saw those water lines low, I was like, oh man, we have a wood ceiling here. If we're nailing into this and we hit a water line, we are screwed. So it is just those types of things. And honestly, why I can do that is because we've hit water lines many times before. It is just something that can happen. So you always just got to be thinking, and honestly, don't get too bogged down. You might hit a water line one time, you'll go and brush or turn off the water and you'll fix the leak and everything will be okay, but you'll remember the next time. And that's why, as you look, all of our water lines are tracked up high. So now none of these nails are going to be thicker than that bottom cord. There's really no way that they can actually puncture those water lines because they're all higher than what our nail will end up doing. There's another big thing that was a discrepancy from the structural engineering and the architecture. Come on. Victor! You guys remember Victor? He's out here making it happen. Anytime we need concrete, he's going to be around. Thank you so much, bro. So, behind you, right here, our beautiful shower. All the upstairs bathrooms, every shower in this house is curbless. That means there's not a 4-inch curb protruding above the ground. All of our shower fans have dropped. All of the upstairs shower pins are called out on the structural engineering to have the drops. So all of our trusses were built and recessed with that in there. But on the lower level, our structural engineer never called out the dropped shower pins. So the foundation guys didn't get it in. We also missed it. So what do we have to do now? Chipping out. We saw cut, dropped, put poly, there's plastic paper down there so that we don't get any moisture from underneath. And then we have new rebar, and then we're building. We're gonna pour concrete at the bottom of that. Come over here, same thing. Now look, Victor's in the middle of pouring this. And this is the big wet room for our pool bath. Look at how big this cut had to be. But here's the thing. The aesthetics of a curveless shower pan is so much better than having a curve. So we cut this out, same thing, dropped it. Now you see the concrete starting to go back in. So then what's gonna happen is when we pour that concrete, now we have a lower surface that we're gonna come back in with a fiberglass shower pan. So it's a custom made pan. As a lifetime warranty against leaks, we run it up the sidewalls and we put it at the very bottom. Then our tile crews come in, we're gonna put in a mud bed. It's kind of similar to concrete, and they're gonna build up where they need to, this slope to this center drain. So that's why you wanna have the recess. The reason why you have a curb is so that that 4 inches is your buildup on top of the slab. A lot of renovations will do that. A lot of, it's just a less expensive way of doing it, but when you have this threshold, you just walk right in. It's just chef's kiss. All right, guys, so honestly, I love doing videos like this, right? Because I'm not ashamed. Being a builder is not about never making mistakes. It's about how you overcome them. And I want to give everyone the courage to go out there and make mistakes. Even at this level, every level that we're getting to, little mistakes are made, but they're very quarantined. It's not like we're making a mistake and like, oh God, the house is falling. Those aren't mistakes. That's just like a really big disparity between skill and the end product. But what's happening here is very, very high levels of detail. Literally thousands of architectural and structural details, and trying to comb through it all can be very cumbersome. And from my point of view, you can't be 100% perfect on the front end. We bid all this stuff out very, very tightly, right? Some of these, we have big windfalls to where we've accounted for a price and it costs us a lot less. Some things are always just gonna eat at your bottom line. These little things, you gotta just get in there, knock them out, brush it off. There's a solution to everything. But what is worse is building this whole thing out. Then we have to make an adjustment when there's finished stone or finished brick or tile, right? Now we're catching this stuff to where it's much less expensive. Some of the stuff costs us nothing to fix. Like, these are tiny, tiny casualties. It can feel like death by 1,000 cuts, but put a freaking Band-Aid on and keep going.
All right, let's check in with the Birdman Wes over at the pharmacy.
All right, guys, what's up? This morning we are out here at the pharmacy project, and we have a pretty big day going on out here. We got obviously our crane out here behind us, and we have a couple picks today. We are dropping our curbs for our RTUs. We're getting new RTUs on the roof, also known as rooftop units. And so what the curbs do is it's basically like a big metal base for our rooftop units, and it allows our ducts to run through the roof and into our system in the building. So they are taking off the old RTUs and then putting on curbs, and then our roofers will be out here tomorrow and Friday, and they are going to flash everything and get everything dialed in for our new unit. Well, as you can see here, these are our old units that we took out. We just had to upgrade due to the size of the space and what the plans called for. So these are our old units that we're getting rid of. Okay, so we've come inside, and since the last time you guys have seen this, pretty much everything has been just continuing on. The MEP is still going on. Our plumbing scope is pretty much done until our drywall's up. All of our floor drains are in. We've patched around all of them. We got our trenches completely covered up. So our concrete is pretty much done until we're ready for epoxy. And then our HVAC is just continuing running their ducts. As you can see, we've got an opening for one of our new RTUs right here. So one more thing that the company we're building this pharmacy for really wanted was a garage door for all their deliveries and shipments. On their old space, they were just carrying everything through a door with a dolly. So what we're doing is, this was previously just a window, a door, and another window. And what we're doing is right now we're demoing this out, and we're gonna put in a nice new commercial 9-foot garage door. That comes in next Tuesday. So right now we're just working on getting this wall down. We had to get this awning off and we're gonna just install a nice little metal awning and a brand new garage door for these guys.
Guys, as always, thank you so much for following along. I love each and every one of y'all. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button now. Up next, we are going to be at ground zero for the last major foundation pour over at the $1 Million Pool, and so much more to come. I'll see you on the next one.